Hi, I'm Veronica and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to go back to the topic of playfulness. I have done some videos about that already, and this time we're gonna focus on playfulness as a way to tap into trust into your body's natural intelligence. If you haven't done it yet, please don't forget to subscribe and to hit the notification bell so that you don't miss any of my videos. Now, a little note, of course, if you are currently in acute pain, if the pain does not allow you to make much of movement without feeling intense or overwhelming, then this is not the practice for that moment of a flare up or of intensity. You might play rather with micro movements, and there's an ocean of micro movements you can do. Maybe I'll do another video on that. And if you need something that can help you right now with your pain, you can download First Aid for Pain from my website www.withmetta.eu. So are you ready to explore joy and pleasure through intuitive movement? This is a very important part of healing because often we get that idea that our body is somehow broken and we have all these protective measures put upon it so that nothing else can ever happen to us again. And this really restricts you and limits you. So let me say it very loud and clear. If you're moving intuitively, there's no way you can harm yourself because your body is always going towards homeostasis, that kind of healthy equilibrium, and not towards self-destruction. So the issue is that we often listen for all our lives, we listen about these correct ways to do things, and that includes movement. There are all those alignment rules how to do a particular movement so that it's safe and that you don't hurt yourself. And I would invite you to move it all aside, forget everything that you learned about the movement from your physical education classes, from your yoga classes, from the gym, from wherever else, and just put it all aside and think of yourself as a baby, a newborn baby that is discovering your own body, as if you're discovering your own body like babies do. Like there's nobody who tells them how to turn from lying on the back to lying on the front. They just play with their body. And as a result of this playful experimentation, they're getting there. They're turning from the back to the front, they're crawling, they start moving in all these new ways. So that's what we're gonna do today. Wake up that inner child and move like the children that play move, without thinking what I should be doing, how to do it, am I doing it right, am I doing it wrong? And if it helps, you can play some music in the background and then you can move to the music, and often it helps to break that barrier. I have to be thinking about what I'm doing. And what I will show you is how I tap into my inner child today, depending on how I feel exactly in this moment. So every time I do it, it looks completely differently. This is an example. And I don't want you to look at the screen and try to mimic what I'm doing and imitate it, because it doesn't make any sense. This is not what your body feels. This is what my body feels, and only in this particular moment. So you can watch it for a moment and feel inspired, rather than try to do the same thing. Your body will need something completely different. The idea here is that you know that there is no place that you cannot possibly go, and you move in a kind of loose way. Everything, your body has this kind of loose quality. Um, So again, a little bit like a child, when you lift a sleeping child, it has this kind of looseness about it. So this is the same kind of quality of in the body that you find there, like a minimum effort, and getting to places that feel yummy and pleasant, and where maybe you haven't visited for a long time, but it's actually really, really nice to be there. So your guiding principle is pleasure. It's that physical pleasure. That's what we're gonna search for. And it might have very mellow pace, or it might get really dynamic. It depends on how you're feeling in the moment, right? So again, completely no right or wrong about the pace of it, or the starting position even. I like to do it starting from the ground, but this is my personal thing. You might prefer to start standing. So again, this is just an illustration. And one more thing I can say before we start, if you're gonna watch how I move, the body loves moving in spirals rather than in straight ways. So see if where this kind of circular spiraling movement is leading you, and it keeps on going on and on and on, and it can move you from one position to the other, one position to the other, almost infinitely. But it's this spiraling motion that your fascia or the connective tissue loves, and it's beautiful for undoing all tensions. So you can have a look, get inspired, and then do your own thing. You absolutely don't need any props for that. Your body itself is enough, but you definitely need space. A lot of space, nothing that would obstruct your movements. And as you will be sooner or later probably getting towards the ground, make sure that you're gonna be on the ground that feels comfortable for you. So there are lots of people who practice directly on the wooden floor. For me, it's out of question, not even because it's hard, but because it's cold. So if I feel coldness, my body cannot be loose because it will tighten instinctively in response to the cold. That's why I like to do it on the blanket. But please don't restrict yourself to putting some little rectangular mats and thinking that you have to be within those artificial boundaries. You really will be going way beyond a little bit of space just around your body. So if you have a carpet, the carpet itself, it might be fine. If you like to have that extra warmth or cushioning, then take a big blanket, and still be ready to move beyond the borders of the blanket as well. All right, so let's begin. And the starting is always from the moment of stillness. You have to listen in before you proceed. And maybe just one more thing. Every movement happens in relation to the ground and to the gravity. So there is always a push, whether it's with a hand or with a foot or with other part of the body. So pushing away from the ground. And there might be also pull, moving towards the ground. So the push and the constant kind of interplay between the push and pull and the spiraling motion is the only building blocks of that practice, really. All right, so I will just move a tiny bit first, a little bit of movement, so that it's not gonna be uncomfortable for me to land in stillness all of a sudden. So a little bit of getting used to that idea that I'm on the ground, that I have all that support underneath me. All the support of the ground is underneath me. So this is my starting point here in constructive rest. Then I start tapping into my breath, maybe listening in to what's going on in the body. And I find the stillness. And then if I find the right spot for my legs, the movement starts happening on its own very quickly. A little bit of rock, something that happens because it wants to happen. It wants to. It wants to move. And then I'll just go with it. I might play with rock, and it's a form of rocking and bouncing. It's usually very releasing. It's pleasant. And I go for what's pleasant, and I go for the places that are calling. That I'm feeling instinctively drawn to. And I allow myself to make all sorts of sounds, sighs, yawns. Everything retains this loose quality. And the air is always there. As a form of reference, it's something I can push away from or push towards. And of course, body remembers all the movements I've ever done. So sometimes it goes for them, but it's not that I'm searching in my mind and thinking what I'm gonna do next. It just intuitively feels the right thing to do now. So I might spend a whole hour being on the ground and close to the ground, as the ground gives you that extra layer of security, support. And there's anyway like millions of movements that you can explore here, close to the ground. And you might notice that most of these movements come in this spiraling way through me. And the body feels loose. Maybe eventually it does take you somewhere more upright. And it might be beyond your comfy and cozy limits of the blanket. That's why I said the bigger the blanket, the better. So the rocking, wavy motions are the most soothing. Are the ones that take you somewhere where you want to be, take you to places that feel good in your body, accessing some places where you want to be right now. Some places worth exploring. Yesterday I went for a long walk. So there are some places that definitely feel a little bit tighter than usual and are asking for my attention. So maybe today more than usual I feel interested in my legs. Usually it would be more towards my pelvis or sacrum. It all depends on what's going on. And as you can see, I'm not doing anything symmetrically. So you don't have to do exactly the same thing on one side and then repeat it on the other side. Like it doesn't make sense. One side and the other side have completely different story to tell. They need totally different things. They want completely different things. And there's no order. I might keep going between being up and down. And from time to time find some spot that feels like it needs a little bit of massage or rocking. And a little bit of that rocking motion is enough to melt it. Oh, to bring it release. So that every time you might want to revisit some place, you notice that it's not the same place anymore. That second time you're there, it is a different place altogether. And a big yawns and sighs are part of that process. Because that's what you're doing. You're just releasing. You're bringing joy into your body. So very probably if you did exactly the same thing as me because you wanted to uh, just follow it because oh maybe that's the right thing that she's doing and it would feel like the most awkward and uncomfortable thing ever, but as you can see maybe from my face expression, for me what I'm doing right now this is just beautiful, really really pleasant, and this kind of momentum can take you anywhere. So if you get into this more playful and dynamic mood, the momentum itself is a force that can take you into any shape. From low to high, any moment. And again, there's no forcing there at all. It's the law of physics. It's your own weight that takes you to places. And if you stay soft with it, it's gonna be fine. And you want to carry on for long enough to give yourself a chance to get to places you maybe haven't discovered yet. Some places that are enjoying this opening, getting to them. And it's not really stretching. See, like, does it look like stretching? I mean, it doesn't really, right? So it's getting to places, but never against me. More with what the body wants. And within this rolling and rotating, spiraling motion, there will be so many various positions the body can take. And none of it creates any discomfort for me. All of it is really lovely and yummy. There are some moments where I want to linger on longer because I feel some areas of tightness or restriction, somewhere where I want to move more to, and that usually involves a little bit of a rock or sway or rap against the floor, and that's what gives it more of a release. So that's how it might look like. Mm. And it's just a tiny sample. I mean, I could go on like that for an hour, but I think this is enough. Oh, this is enough for you to really feel the gist of how it might look like. Your little playful moment with your own body. A moment of pleasure and sinking to what feels good and deeply nourishing. Whether it's really soft and slow, whether it's more wild and dynamic. And often it's nice to add self-touch. So there's a lot of um, touch and self-massage bits that happen because of the contact of the body with the ground. But it's also really nice to have the contact of the hands and palms with the body, something like sliding your hands up and down the thighs. You might rest your hands on the lower rib cage to feel your breath, feeling you in and out, in constant expansion and retraction. And you also always want to finish in the moment of stillness so that you can actually feel what happened in these few minutes, what changed, how various parts of the body are speaking to you now. Does that contact with the ground feel the same like in the beginning? The sensations within the body, the breath itself. And it's sometimes even worth to name it for yourself, to be as descriptive as possible. How would you call how the body feels now? Is it more soft or spread out, or being heavier or more lively or more bubbly or vibrant? What is it? What is it for you? And it could be anything. So stay for a moment in stillness with that deep gratitude for the body and all these things that it's capable of. I'm really curious, how did that go for you? And let me know what really worked best. Was it better with music or without music? How did it feel before and after? Please share in the comments. I hope that you had a great time with that. If you like this video, give it a like and press the notification button, subscribe, so that you don't miss others. I post a video weekly. I'll see you next week.